Why not?
There you are.
Oh, hey. Oh, yeah, now it says recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Dude, this is it.
Turn on the light.
Dude, shit's about to get real, dude. Real.
Oh, yeah.
And then like next week we'll have Javi and Kevin on for like an hour and we'll just pinball back and forth about stupid shit.
We'll just keep having you guess.
Dude, I mean like what's wrong with that, dude? Dude.
All right.
Dude, this is crazy. All right, man. Well, dude, welcome. This is the inaugural podcast / YouTube channel / Twitch / however many other platforms we can get this thing on. The Man Cave Report.
Fun.
Man Cave Report here with Carlos and Luca.
That's me.
Dude, that is you. It's kind of awkward, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
You kiss a chick. You're like, is this how this is supposed to work?
Dude, first time, yeah. It's always nerve-wracking, but we have alcohol.
This will take care of the nerves for sure. Oh man, what are you drinking over there?
Pisco Sour.
Pisco Sour.
I am from Peru. What are you drinking?
Dude, well, you already know what I'm drinking, but it's Giulia d'Italia Grappa from Italy. I bought it for a friend, actually a former roommate, and brought it back from Italy for his birthday, which was in April, and he decided that he didn't want to drink hard liquor anymore. So now I have this bottle of Grappa. It's worked out pretty well for me.
Dude, it's found a good home.
Dude, it's definitely not gonna get missed out on here. That's for sure. I might have to black market myself a new one since we can't leave the country right now.
Dude,
Can't even leave my house, man. Dude, so that's a great segue. What do you think about all this shit that's going on right now?
It's crazy, man. Fuck, we're on our way out of it, sort of, because we're in the middle of reopening.
Yeah. But what did Gavin Newsom say? We're at stage 3.
3 now? Well, my county isn't. I'm in Santa Clara, and that's San Jose. We're phase 2.
It's funny. I work there, but I live over here in San Mateo, where my freedoms are looser, dude. It's nice to be free, dude.
You get to go outside and people don't look at you twice.
Live in communist Santa Clara County.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I still haven't heard anything from my restaurant, at least where I work at, but it's gonna be different, man. Restaurants right now are fucked.
Dude,
put it lightly.
So many small businesses, man. I mean, it's almost hard to fathom that the loss in revenue, the loss in businesses was worth the good intention or not risk from the government, you know. And I know that depending on what state you're in, things are a little bit different, but you know, here, I mean, shit. I mean, how do you think the whole situation was handled? And I think I just feel so much empathy and sympathy for all these small businesses that are gone, you know, and they're probably not going to come back, at least a good percentage of them.
Yeah. I mean, the hard numbers from how many businesses were affected by this and how many businesses are pretty much bankrupt or just going to go out of business is ridiculous, man. We're really going to feel it by the end of summer. We're just going to see the businesses are hanging on by a thread and just didn't make it.
And if there's, as some people we've talked to, you know, if there's a big second wave, second wind, and they have to shut everything down again, I mean, what's going to be left? You're just going to have banks and Amazon on every fucking corner. Everyone's going to be working for Amazon. Amazon coffee, Amazon. I mean, they already have Whole Foods, right? So they already have their own supermarket chain.
They already have their own coffee little shop inside, their pizzeria.
Dude, I'm surprised Amazon's just logo isn't plastered through all of like the rainforest because of how many boxes are being made out of those trees. People order toothpaste, just one box, dude. And it comes in like 15 layers of packaging, and the actual cardboard box, which is 10 times the size of the box that the item was in.
It's crazy that guy is going to become the first trillionaire.
At a certain point, man, when is enough just enough?
I know, man. It's just like, all right, Like enough is enough. Trillion dollars. Like
What did you
why?
do, like, seriously though, like on planet Earth, without taking into account colonizing Mars and shit, but like just here,
That's
what can
another.
you do with a trillion that you can't do with 150 billion? That you couldn't do with like 10 billion?
Well, you could do it with fucking maybe 1 billion, man. Like, come on, let's be real.
Jeez, it's I can't even imagine having like 1,000th of that kind of money, let alone, well, okay, 1,000th maybe, but like 100th of that money,
A
dude, having
hundred.
10, $50 million in my bank account, like I could never. I don't know what that's like. I mean, I could imagine, but I don't know.
I could imagine. I mean, every once in a while, I'll buy a scratcher. I'll think about it. What if I win the grand prize of, 750,000? But
No joke. Publishers Clearinghouse. I know you've seen those commercials on TV.
hell yeah. I always hope that they would come to me in my apartment, even though I don't have a
Like,
house.
you have to like register for all that shit, dude. It's the same thing. You have to got to spend money to make money, as some wise philosopher once said. You got to pay for their subscription, and then maybe they'll just choose you out of a hat.
That's pretty much what you're enlisting in. It's just, yeah, it's lottery.
Dude. So on another level, dude, how's everything working from home, dude? It's crazy to know that for such a long time people were told that they couldn't work from home, like their job is too essential to like not work from home, and now everyone's working from home almost.
Everybody's working from home. It's been good. It's lonelier than you would imagine. I like have like virtual meetings. I have some FaceTime here and there, but just all day unsupervised, really just doing work. Uh, After a while, it gets boring, man,
I
and you can't really like
sure.
you listen to music every single day, but there's gonna come a point in time where it's just like, all right, I need to clear my head a little bit, not listen to music and silence.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I guess to an extent we're kind of lucky because we have our SOs living with us, right? Like you got your
Yeah,
wife, not my basically wife. Uh,
it's
I'm
official.
I'm sure she'll have something to say about that when she sees this on YouTube. But that's okay. She'll have, but
Oh man.
I mean, I can't even imagine what it must be like to either to be single or like, dude, you know how many people are living with their exes now because of this? They've all broken up and they're just stuck in the same house together.
A lot of people are talking about like there's gonna be the coronavirus babies. Dude, I want to see the percentages of divorce.
Dude, there are lots of lawyers that either right now or 6 months from now are just going to be.
They're just sitting patiently.
They're going to be as inundated with these cases as hospitals in Manhattan were when the coronavirus became when they became the epicenter of the coronavirus. Man, they're not going to be able to handle all the divorces.
It's just too much.
It's crazy, dude. Dude, I miss where you used to work, man. I want to go there and have a drink and probably
that pokey.
Dude, that pokey, dude. I miss that pokey. That's the only place that I got pokey from.
Yeah, the Bay.
Anywhere.
Like honestly,
and now that I live down the street from it again, basically, like I can't go there.
Yeah, dude, it sucks, man. I miss food, like restaurant food. It's crazy just to think about how we took that for granted, where we would go out for dinner and a movie, and now that you haven't done it in fucking 2.5 months,
dude,
seems like the best little mini vacation.
I really think that if nothing else, this puts a ton of things in perspective for people. And
Job wise, yes.
I mean, job wise and just life wise, man. Like if you think about it, people before this, I would say people were more willing to be recluse, but it was on their own choice. Like now that all these different things have been taken away, and depending on where you're at, the amount of things that have been taken away varies. But just the ability of being outside or just to like see a friend on the street and like give them a hug without people all losing their minds, like, oh, these guys are spreading shit, like why are they hugging in public, like we're supposed to be 6 feet apart. It's like, dude, I miss that human connection. Just I guess the most simple way I could put it.
I mean, just being able to shake someone's hand.
Yeah, it's
the simplest of little things, man. Like the other day, like even when we're driving around, we see people who will like kick the cross sign button or elbow it. There's no more use of hands in the outside world.
Dude, right? We're just gonna all be like wearing gloves. Like in 1,000 generations, if this keeps up and we just keep going into phases like this, people are just gonna be born with like plastic on their hands. Like can't be touching people, right?
I mean, it's like I saw a picture in Germany, the cafe. They had this separation system where it was like a little hat that had those pool noodles just 6 feet apart in all directions.
I
So
saw
that's how people
so
knew.
Florida, at one of the casinos in Florida. I'm pretty sure it was Florida. They opened up, but what they did was they basically put, like, at poker tables and like blackjack tables. What they did was they had a wall protecting the dealer with just a hole for his hands to throw the cards out. And then at every single spot, it's like a cube. It's like a little cubicle. And like the commentary underneath it was, pretty hilarious. But I think the best comment was, if we still are worried about this virus and this is what we're doing to protect ourselves, maybe we should just stay the fuck home. And I was like, I mean,
Dude, every interaction is going to be different, man. It's a whole new world. I can't even imagine how movie theaters are going to be. Like all those businesses are going to be what I think California's at 25% capacity or 30%.
yeah, I mean, I think they're at 25 now. I don't think they're going to be at 50 for a bit. I just hope they come up with some creative solutions to help these small businesses and restaurants, man. Like I can't, like if there's no variety anymore, especially, like a suburban area, you want to have a little bit of access to a bunch of stuff. And I know that sounds kind of like elitist and privileged to say, and I am just given the area that we live in, we're pretty lucky that, the curve has flattened in most places. And, whether right or wrong, I think, given the circumstances, our governor did the best job that he could. And I know there's plenty of people out there that'll say that I'm a crazy socialist, communist, whatever. But I think
definitely with that hair,
like imagine, like I'll put it this way. It's not a situation that I envy him, right? I don't want to sit at that chair and have to make a decision that affects 40 million people.
Yeah, man. No, I would not want to be in that position. It's crazy to think about, but once you think of the state as a whole, like it's what how many million people live in California?
Like between 35 and 40 million.
Exactly. It's like you're taking a decision for all of them, and especially in the Silicon Valley right now, man. We have dense populations in San Francisco and San Jose.
Yeah.
Like closing down businesses and everything. It's pretty much most of the businesses are gone. The small businesses, I mean, they have that loan that they could have applied for, but
that's a whole other issue, right? Like, you think about a small business, right? For example, where you work, right? You're basically a one-off, really nice Japanese style, infused restaurant. Kamuri, shout out to Kamuri, Redwood City.
Shout out to Kamuri.
Hit them up when they're back open. But I mean, are any of those guys that you work with lawyers? Are any of them CPAs? Like, that's what I mean. Like a small business is like someone who had an idea, who like has a service that they can provide, that they know, like it's easy enough to like give someone your taxes to do them. But if you don't have like a team of lawyers analyzing documents or CPAs doing all your taxes for you, like all these huge businesses out there that get the money first from the government, like you don't stand a chance. You're going to fuck up on a piece of paper. And like,
yeah,
do you think a bank's going to give a fuck about your $300,000 loan request when Amazon's asking for 10 billion? I mean, no, they're probably not asking for anything. They're just getting that money. It's a loan that they have to pay back for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's insanity. It's crazy, and like you can't expect someone, who specializes in, let's say ballet, right? Like that woman or that man or whoever runs that studio is not going to be able to just, unless they have like a paralegal, on their payroll, which is unlikely. They're not going to just be going through documents to like fill them out correctly for a huge, or a fairly substantial loan from the government.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Even on like the next level, like a business that you would think would never die is nightclubs. How do you expect to go to a nightclub now and dance with someone 6 foot apart?
And on top of that, that's one thing that I plan to talk to one of my friends about, who she's like she's basically a PM for Insomniac.
Nice.
She's basically, TCB, taking care of business, whatever it is. Like, I would say just based on all the stuff that she does and manages, and, I would say a PM just managing shit is just, and there's no EDC this year. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's no nothing this year. They just canceled they just canceled the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, first 126-year run.
Dude. I mean, that thing was open through the Spanish flu, to put it in perspective. And
They canceled it now.
it almost makes you think, like, is it worth it, man? Like the Spanish flu, this is probably not as bad as the Spanish flu. Just, if you've been following things, maybe it is.
But I mean, like I think EDC has said that they're gonna try again in, when was it, like October or November? I know, like the reggae festival, Cali Roots, was supposed to be in May this past weekend, and they're saying October too. But I just don't see it. How?
I think in a lot of ways it sort of falls into the purview of who's running the area in which they're trying to host these events, right? Like if they're trying to throw a festival in Las Vegas, that mayor said like 2 weeks ago already that I don't give a fuck, like let's just open shit, right? So, and there are a couple of, podcasts that I've seen and comments on YouTube actually that, people have discussed whether she's absolutely batshit crazy or whether they think this is the right move. You can check those videos out for yourself, but we'll see, right? Like everyone's going to be going into a very densely populated area that's going to increase in population density by probably an order of magnitude, and like we'll see.
I mean, Las Vegas, or the casinos are supposed to open this next weekend. I mean, the slot machines are going to be separated. Like they're going to close off every other one or every two.
Were we talking about going to Vegas recently? I'm pretty sure we were talking.
Yeah, now we are stuck.
What we should do instead is just get a cabin out in South Lake Tahoe and be close enough to where if we want to go, we can, we can
observe across the street and just stay safe in California and look over Nevada and just be like, I don't know yet. There's too many people there.
Dude,
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Man. Yeah, I mean, even traveling, I was strangely enough, I was talking to my mom about it. She saw like a news report that for airplanes, they spray the entire airplane down. You can sit in your seat. They're separating the middle seat and then only sit in every other one. And what they recommend is having the air vent on blast to keep the air fresh. That's right here. Pushing germs or anything down. That's their method. And keeping your gloves and mask on.
Look, man, at a certain point,
12-hour flights,
dude,
impossible.
At a certain point, we just need to accept 2, possibly 3 scenarios, right? And that is, how much are we willing to let this continue to happen? And what is the cost benefit of that, right? Like,
yeah.
Let's say the numbers are inflated, as people have possibly argued, and then you
kind of inflated. I agree with it.
I mean, I'm sure in some ways it's overinflated, and I'm sure in some ways it's understated. You know what I mean?
Yes, I can see that.
Like we didn't get to testing hordes of people until like what, end of March, maybe.
March,
yeah,
like
and considering some of the like purported illness, like it's like respiratory, which is not like the flu, but it comes with a fever and it comes with other flu-like symptoms. So if it's likely that some of these deaths were reported as something that maybe coronavirus wasn't the main factor, but something else was, they'll list it because coronavirus is in the system. But how many flu deaths were possibly coronavirus because some of the symptoms are similar, right? You go into the doctor, they're like, oh, you must have the flu. You have a fever and you have this and you have that. Oh shit, you died. Like,
but that's the main question, man. It's, those doctors are under the greatest stress around right now. They have so many people coming in just asking, and they group it together. And it's grouping what really is messing with the numbers and the data that we have.
Yeah.
I think it was like a prison. 90% of the inmates tested positive for COVID. 0 showed symptoms. They were all asymptomatic.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
I mean, I'm totally willing to believe that there are way more people that are infected and haven't been tested because they're asymptomatic than is that the numbers of people that have died specifically because coronavirus was a contributing factor or it was coronavirus in and of itself. I'm willing to concede and give a little bit of slack for what you're saying. But by the same token, like it would be hard to believe that so many doctors and nurses throughout the entire United States would all be saying that it's not this, when, you know, maybe it's not, but if all the signs kind of point to it, it's hard to, you know, like if you have diabetes and it's under control and then you die of the flu because the flu overcame you and your diabetes, like they're going to probably say that you died because of your diabetes, but flu was a contributing factor. So, you know, I'm sure there are probably deaths like that for coronavirus that occurred early in the year before we started testing people, or even possibly last year, because people were getting sick in China in November,
Yeah.
and my entire house got sick with flu-like symptoms between, you know what I mean? Like, who's to say?
That's the thing, man. I think the worst part about this virus is that we just won't know, really. I mean, it has so many symptoms that are popping up. I mean, like the little red blotches on the feet, uh, fever, cough, sore throat, can't breathe, red eyes, red shading around the eyes. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, it's just, and it attacks everyone kind of differently in what symptoms show up, if any, at all.
Yeah.
Really, really hard to track.
And totally random, it seems like, you know, like
that's the other part, man.
At first it was like, okay, if you're over 75 and you've ever been sick in your life or have any pre-existing condition, you're going to die. Like your mortality rate is like 30%, 25%, like you're going to die. And
yeah,
now we see more and more people surviving this virus, right? And we see some young people, some 30 something, some 20 somethings. Even I think I've seen kids as young as 8 and 7 die. And it's like, okay, this isn't as bad as we thought it was, probably, because we're now starting to see that, you know, the numbers are dropping a little bit, and, you know, people doing smart things is probably helping flatten that curve too. But, you know, perhaps it's not a death sentence. You know, it's not like the bird flu back in the early 2000s when people were dying like 40% of the time or whatever.
It's kind of like, man, you're just playing the odds. It's a lot. It's almost seen more and more every day. Like, you know, if you're above 75, your chances are higher that it's gonna, you know, kill you. But if you're below that, it's kind of just like rolling the die. You can be asymptomatic. You can get it very light that lasts maybe a day, showing only a couple symptoms, or you could.
But, and I know this is kind of, you know, it's a little bit of a stretch, but something that I think in at least tangentially is relatable. The HIV illness, for instance, when it first came on the scene, was basically a death sentence. Now, through its own evolution, like, because the way a virus effectively works, if I'm just, you know, kind of going back to my freshman biology class, a virus lives by finding ways to thrive in hosts and then learning how to jump from host to host through RNA manipulation, basically, right? So a virus would ideally want to be moderately, like, it would want to have a rate, you know, like in a moderate range to kill you, but a very high likelihood of transmission or longevity, right? So like being transmittable through people that are asymptomatic is in a virus's best interest in some ways, if you think about it like that, right?
Yeah.
The more hosts that it can interact with, the more it can learn and basically go through its own natural selection to become a new strain, a potentially more powerful strain. And like, look at what's happened with HIV over the last 30 years, right? Like, you can have it now. Like, if you contract HIV through whatever means, you know, you might have a fever for a couple days within the first 6 months of exposure, but you may also not at all, because it, you know, and it just kind of lives in your system until somewhere down the road, maybe something will happen if you aren't on the right kind of medication for it, right? So you know, and this is something that 2 PhD biologists were saying on a podcast the other day. They were saying that, you know, what if this thing, even like for, even if it's asymptomatic, what if it just lives in your system long enough to create a horrible version of itself that then jumps to other people and starts killing at a much higher clip? You know, like, these are all things that are plausible, right? Like, we can say for sure that it's not fake in some way or another. This virus is a real thing.
Well, I also heard that even in India, there's like a different version of COVID-19 that's affecting them very differently, where they're showing a lot more people who are getting hit harder with it. Not necessarily death-wise, but more of them are showing symptoms. Yeah. And that's pretty crazy. I mean, like different parts of the world. This is worldwide, but I mean, how many versions are there right now, or how
Well,
is it mutating?
and that's one thing that I hear from folks that want to talk about how, oh, you know, like it's a conspiracy or whatever, because like places in Africa aren't having the same sort of rates of infection. And I
Well,
heard from like,
yeah,
and I heard from like several different like presidents or heads of state or heads of whatever in Africa that, yeah, the reason why we don't have any positive tests is because no one's giving us tests to test people. And I'm
so
like,
that's the problem in the beginning, man. We just didn't have
right?
the test.
On the same day, the US and South Korea had its first, I think, death. And within the span of the next like 3 weeks, they tested something like 4,000 people per day. And we were testing like 4,000 people a week.
Yeah,
Or,
you know, like, we need to find out, quarantine, and get this over with.
it was some astronomical discrepancy. And, you know, say what you want about those particular, you know, systems of social order or whatever, but I mean, it worked, right? They helped flatten their curve. They figured out who had what, and yeah, imagine where we would be if we were testing that many people from the beginning in areas that were heavily infected. Like, dude, if New York was testing, you know, with all the money that the U.S. has, like 10,000 people per week or per day, you know, like how different things might be. Sorry, I'm moving the camera because I sent you a picture, but just making that food over there.
Making that stew.
Making that stew. They call me Stu Baku.
Later on, like 5 years from now, Luca's new cookbook will be coming out.
Dude, it'll have to be it'll have to be like a little theme that comes from this podcast, because this is where it's beginning, man. This is the beginning.
Dude, if it doesn't have Stubaka in it, I will not endorse it.
Dude. So what else is there? Oh, dude, we wanted to talk about.
Oh.
I mean, I almost feel guilty and horrible and like I'm smiling about it, but it's like,
yeah, I know, man. You're like,
when I'm uncomfortable talking about a subject, I start laughing, and I know it's like it's not good.
We'll keep it as a secret for next time when it's more.
But like, dude, this whole situation in Minneapolis.
This whole situation up north.
Shit. Yeah, dude. Basically Canada.
Almost, yeah. Half Canada, half America.
I'm just kidding to our no fans in Minneapolis or Canada yet. Like, no doubt though, you will be.
Oh man.
Shit. Dude. So, how much did you read about that? Because over the last probably like day, since we kind of decided on the few subjects we wanted to cover, and that unfortunately, because it has to be covered, is one of them.
Up to date, man, it's changed by the last hour and a half.
Dude, it is honestly, I think the only thing that I can say that is apolitical, that is something I think universally understood by anybody who has a soul. It is absolutely heartbreaking, the whole situation, from beginning to when we knew about this potential foul play, and we don't know, and you know, as a disclaimer, we don't know all the facts, but it doesn't look good at all.
It doesn't look good.
There's no optic, there's no video angle, there's no secret filming, there's no like even the black screens that they did on the redacted version from the police.
There's a picture of the backside though. There's the cop,
yeah,
the neon, the guy, and the car. On the other side of the car, the rest of the guy's body, there's two other cops, one on top of his torso, one on top of his legs. There's a picture that just came out, so they're saying there's four total.
Like, I haven't even seen that one yet, and like even without knowing that they were there, just that alone, because there was a cop in front of him, and there was also the cop on the neck. Like, dude, yeah, that would have been enough. Like, he's already handcuffed, right? And so I did see some videos on CNN, even Fox. Shout out to Fox for playing some of that clip. You know, like, so dude, I went through the Minneapolis police like handbook. Like, that's what I did today. And in the entire section about, you know, using necessary force, it is only supposed to be used as a necessary. I mean, this is probably a unilateral provision in just about every, you know, worth his weight in piss police department's handbook. Is it says, you know, you only use excessive force to gain control, right?
Exactly.
That basically prefaces every single section about using aggressive force or potentially deadly force, right? And specifically, there was an article that I saw from, I could probably even share with you actually, because I got so many fucking tabs open on this shit, dude. From the New York Times. Let me see if I can share this with you. But in the New York Times, they had a former.
You should just share your screen.
Yeah. I gotta hit the button. They had a former like lieutenant police officer. You can see it now, right?
Yeah, I can see it. I see it.
So right. So like this article from the New York Times. Let me go to the part that I'm talking about. It is, dude. Is it further down than I thought? Probably.
I don't know, man. New York Times writes some long-ass articles.
So this is from a dude named Seth Stoughton, who's a law professor at the University of South Carolina and a former police officer. And I think that's sort of an important disclaimer, right? Former police officer. So this isn't me or like somebody who, is within the, the tribes of either the people that were affected by this positively and negatively, although it's all negative. There's no positive effect to this. But he says, I just cannot fathom an officer in 2020 honestly saying, yes, I thought this was okay to keep him in that position for almost 4 minutes after he passed out.
Yep.
And part of, so in the Minneapolis, where is it? It's up here somewhere. In any case, within their guidelines, I looked and it basically said that the moment that you start using this kind of force, you have to also simultaneously be monitoring the welfare of the person, right? And considering you saw an angle that shows an additional 2 officers there, plus the one in front, so there's 4 officers there. 3 of them are holding this dude down. Mm-hmm. They're saying that he's resisting, even though nowhere in the video do any of them say he's actually resisting. They're just like, basically just doing their thing. Even if he was resisting, like his arms are cuffed behind the back of his neck and he's on his belly.
He's literally just asking for help and his hands are subdued. This guy, this police officer, he has a record.
12.
Yes, man. It's mind-blowing that it's gotten to this fucking far.
But okay, so in defense, and this is, again, I just want to play devil's advocate. If you're arresting somebody and you're a cop and you do the right thing, there's a pretty decent chance that an angry, drunk, fucked up person will lay an accusation, right? So, and that's, again, not to absolve anything that's in the video because there's nothing to defend that.
It's very hard.
There's almost no defense to it.
There isn't.
But, like, you ask any, like, most of my encounters, and these are just my encounters, I know that other people have different experiences, but, like, a lot of folks that I talk to that, I just kind of meet in passing that may work in security or may work in other positions of authority similar to a police officer, although maybe not to that level. It's hard to make split-second decisions or even like minute-by-minute decisions because you're in such a heightened state. And people will oftentimes, when they're getting in trouble, and especially if they're inebriated in some capacity, will try and point the finger elsewhere because they don't want to get in trouble. Like, that's just a human nature.
Right. Most of those times is just trying to get out.
Nobody wants to get in trouble. That's just, that's a fact. But what's also a fact is, like, no matter what video I look for, even the ones that come from the redacted body cam videos, which just show dark squares on the subjects because they're all innocent until proven guilty, right?
Right.
Even those don't look good. Like, you even see, like, the black X'd out figures like sideways, like it's parallel because he's on the ground, like laying flat. It's not even like standing up anymore. It's crazy, man.
It breaks my heart. I know right now, I think the latest thing that I heard, like an hour and a half ago, is that the governor called in the National Guard to help with all the riots and protests, and it's getting crazy out there. And it's crazy. I used to live in Minneapolis, man. Where that happened, I've driven down that street.
No, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, man. Like some of my Facebook feed is just people posting pictures of what they're seeing right now going on in the streets, man. it's
That's
heartbreaking, but
and that's a
it
whole
comes to a point
other
to
issue. That's a whole other issue that we could go in for hours on. But I think you and I have a similar understanding with this situation when it comes to the like quite literal and visual anarchy that's going on in Minneapolis.
mhm.
More than 90% of the damage is being done to bystanders, and by bystanders I mean businesses that had nothing to do with anything that happened. People's cars are getting burned and torched, and it's just, dude, that is sending the wrong message entirely. I know. I can't even imagine the hurt and pain of knowing that this stuff happens on an hourly basis to us, to certain groups of people. I can't imagine what it's like. But like, it seems like in addition to the harm that you're feeling from what happened, all this additional damage is leaving ruins to the area that you live in, that you're proud of, where your family is. It's just like, I can't, like, if
So
for me to
I actually looked into that a little bit, and the businesses that are getting like vandalized and everything, I don't want to say the majority. I don't want to say like half of them or anything, but the pictures I've been seeing, my friends that were there, uh, it's only like big name store brands like Walgreens, CVS, Target. It's not the small business. Small businesses have been boarded up and vacated and just kind of left alone, left there. But I mean, I saw one quote, and it was probably the best one that I've seen. Is I think that news reporter Tommy Lauren, or I forget her name.
Dude, the crazy thin blonde on Fox.
Yes. So she said, like, really like rioting and destroying the community that you lived in is the way to answer to this. Kind of like calling out the protesters. And the comment that I saw was like, we tried to kneel and you guys didn't take that well either. So
Dude,
what's the answer?
I think I got that.
And I mean, this is exactly why Kaepernick kneeled. It is for this reason. Either or, there's no right way to do it. But I mean, it's sad to see that happened there, and it's sadder to see that police officers that may or may not agree with what happened have to protect that house where that officer lives who did that.
I'm gonna share my screen again, dude, because what you just said is something that I wanted to bring to this portion of the discussion.
This man cave report.
Dude, this is coming to you straight from the man cave.
From our man cave.
From our individual man caves, because social distancing is a thing. And you know what?
From my man cave to your man cave.
Dude, I may not be. I am probably not as concerned with this as I once was. But yeah, this is it.
This is it. That's exactly it, man.
God damn it.
Oh, no.
Dude, why? Dude, see, this is why we can't have nice things, YouTube and the internet. Anytime I want to try and just look some shit up, you're like, pay me for this. Dude, yeah, it's free.
Coming in 2021.
Anyways, like, you can see it this right here, right? Like this is okay. This is why we kneel. Which kneel is more offensive to you? And if the answer is the one on the right, then you can go fuck yourself, because it's not. It never will be. It never was. Like, unless Floyd has literally a shotgun pointed at the dude's dick that's coming right out of his butt, which you can't see because it's all covered. That's the only way that maybe I can understand this position. In any other light,
that's more impressive than terrifying.
You got two other cops. Bind his legs and get off his neck. Like, that's it.
I mean, there's no explanation for that, man.
That's
the same lawyer that got off the most recent case is gonna defend him in court.
Of course, dude. It's all, dude. How
can you defend that though?
They're frenemies, dude. Like, they pretend like they're enemies when it's like a defendant going up against a plaintiff. But in this particular case, the defendant is the entity that's trying to put away the lawyer's defendants in other cases. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It just makes me sick, dude. And I think even more so than that, it's just like, it's so senseless. It just seems so unnecessary. And it is unnecessary. Not that it's unnecessary. It is unnecessary.
At this day and age, I mean, it's for racism to still exist is silly. I mean, now that you think of it, like, I think white Americans are slowly becoming the minority. I mean, I think it's by 2025, like, they will be the minority.
Dude, that's why
Crazy to think about, but
that's why in a lot of places they're losing their minds, because they know how they've treated minorities for the last 250 years. So now they're like, fuck, dude, if we become the minorities, it's over.
but it's still happening. So it's still happening, man. It's very sad. I mean, my prayers out to everyone I know that lives out there. It's crazy, but I understand why they're protesting. I understand why they just don't want to stay quiet. It
I
makes
will
sense.
say one of the things I did read, that based on the people that they've arrested, and again, you know, like, who knows who's lying or telling the truth anymore? Like, you don't know anything anymore, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's
like, there was a report that came out that was saying that the arrests of people from these riots, none of them have like Minneapolis addresses or live incredibly far away from the location.
Ooh, yes. So the autos. Are you talking about the AutoZone clip?
I'm just talking generally. Like, I'm not saying anything in particular, but I know I've seen articles and I've read a few and seen a couple of clips about how the people who are being arrested for rioting don't have local residences. And that can mean whatever you want. I'm just saying that that is something that I've read, not just in one source, but in a couple of sources. So
there's a clip of a guy who they started recording him. He was wearing a full-on like painter's mask, a hood. He was covering most of it, just his eyes were showing, and he had an umbrella too, which I thought was super weird. I mean, he's not fucking Mr. Poppins, but he is seen throwing or with the hammer, smashing the window of an AutoZone that later that night got burned down by protesters. Seen doing that, and as he's walking away, he doesn't even say to loot or something like that. He's just inciting a riot.
If we want to get a little more into the, and I don't,
That's ridiculous.
we really want to get a little more into the rabbit hole, right? So, do you know what an umbrella at a movement like this is, in my opinion, totally my opinion, meant to represent?
What?
In 2014, there was a political movement in Hong Kong. And I think Kevin was the one who said this in our chat, and I went and looked it up, where Hong Kong was protesting against China, for mainland China, for the same kind of shit that they're going through now, to an extent. Mm-hmm. And the movement was called the Umbrella Movement, and fools showed up with umbrellas. And the juxtaposition of what's happening in Minneapolis with the rioting to what's happening in Hong Kong versus mainland China is some George Soros is funding conspiratorial under
connection.
That's some shit.
Connection, but I mean,
I'm too cynical to believe in conspiracy theories. I'm too cynical to believe in regular theories. Like, unless
I'm not too cynical to look at these little things that are coincidences, but very, very.
If you can show me with science or math that something is legit, you have my attention. But if you're just telling me because of social feelings and things, like, dude, everything is so fucking gray, dude. You know, like, everyone wants to think it's this or it's that it's totally binary, but it's just an entire spectrum of grayness, dude, and it's fucking insane. Like, you know, there are an infinite number of numbers between 0 and 1. Like, if you just go by fractions and decimal places to infinity, like, that's the thing, right? So
the limit does not exist.
No, yeah.
Shout out to Mean Girls.
Did you just quote Mean Girls?
Fuck yeah, man. That movie's great. I don't care what you say.
How, dude? That was unseen in this inaugural moment, dude. Like, there were many things that I thought might be said, but
I know
retrieving a quote from the depths of your subconscious on a whim.
Yeah,
dude,
man.
If I had a small audience,
it's funnier that you knew what movie I was talking about. So whatever you have to say, sir, dude, you know what I'm talking about.
It was beautiful. Like, dude, I could have seen so many different Star Wars or common things.
Star Wars for sure is
that could have been quoted. You know, so many different, moments from different movie series that you could have easily pulled a little excerpt from. But you went Mean Girls, dude, and that is some shit, dude. That is something that I was not expecting, and I'm proud to say I'm totally shocked by it.
Dude, yeah. Sometimes I just do random stuff.
It's
Stay
beautiful.
tuned, guys.
Dude, let's bring a little bit of levity to this now, all right? So we've talked about the unfortunate, horrible situations going on in the world.
Yeah.
We have sports, dude. Let's talk about sports a little bit, all right? There are none.
Back to you.
There was a golfing match between Tom Brady,
Dude.
Tom Brady, Phil Mickelson versus Tiger Woods, and who was the other guy? Tiger Woods and who?
Tom Brady.
No, I already said Tom Brady.
Oh,
Peyton
Mickelson and Tiger. Oh, yeah, Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning, right? And they won, which I think is great because that rivalry between him and Tom Brady is probably one of the greatest of all time just because they're both, like, Tom Brady is so not funny that he's funny, and Peyton Manning just has character. He just is
Dude,
a character.
I love that they talk shit the entire match. Like, everything Bleacher Report was putting up on the web was just talk shit.
Most important moment, the pants ripping, dude.
The pants ripping. I mean, Tom Brady. I am a little more okay with that stupid fucking tuck rule violation that happened to my poor Raiders so long ago. I'm a little more okay by seeing him rip his pants trying to pick up a golf ball. It was beautiful.
I mean, I think you take the Super Bowl, but you can have a little bit of a consolation prize there, I suppose.
It's a little one. It's great.
Very tiny one. Because he also has the largest comeback in Super Bowl history. So I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that.
And he's married to a supermodel. So.
Yeah, but I mean, it also makes me feel a little bit better that she's the real person that makes the most money in that household, and she's really the head of household in that house.
Dude, yeah.
He's in the United States, but she's worldwide. Tom
Brady wears the pants in the Patriots locker room, now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers locker room, at home, and anywhere they go together. We know.
It's Mama's credit card that's paying the bills.
Oh, dude. Mama doesn't have a credit card. She just has open tabs, and they send her.
I would like to just get this and take this home. I'll be back though.
Right. Sure. Like, yeah. Let me get this 200-year-old wine, and this beef Dude. That only comes once every 5 years from a particular region in Tibet. And and I know it's like a $25,000 bill, but don't worry about it. Like it's fine.
So speaking of sports, speaking of crazy things, I am not the biggest hockey fan anymore, but I love my Minnesota Wild. But did you hear the NHL's comebacks to the season? They're going straight to the playoffs. All teams are included, and it's just going to be
that is fucking sick, dude.
Dude.
This could be the year, dude.
That the Sharks just go all the way.
Look. In the last 30 seasons, the Sharks have missed the playoffs twice. If you include this god-awful season and just getting in because of the coronavirus, dude, that's dude.
Can you imagine if they did that with
saying there's a chance?
Can you imagine if they did that with basketball? Just the Warriors had.
They're talking about letting in 24 teams.
Huh?
They're talking about letting in 24 teams, I think.
Really?
Yeah, some crazy shit like that.
Because if they do how the NHL is doing, that's incredible.
Originally, they were going to do something like the NHL. No, originally they were just going to do a handful of games, 10 games, and then to the playoffs, right? And Damian Lillard, among other stars, were like, I'm not even going to play if it's just that because I have no chance of getting to play. And the funny situation with him saying that specifically is there was a quote from him 3 years ago where he said, dude, pressure, I don't worry about pressure. I just go out there and play a game, man. The people who feel pressure are the ones that go to work every day. And I'm like, bro, you literally just said you're not going to play a game for a bunch of money because and then you're talking about, wait.
I don't know. I mean, for me, if they did that for basketball and somehow the Warriors, sneak their way in with Thompson and Curry back, I just want to keep up the tradition that the Houston Rockets keep losing to them and getting knocked out. Dude. In the playoffs.
Literally,
my cousin Alessandro. Shout out Alessandro.
They would have been eliminated from the worst team, both in terms of record and winning percentage of any team in the playoffs.
They are the only team that's not supposed to go to the playoffs. Literally. On paper with this season.
They have no mathematical chance. Basically, it's less than 1%.
But if they get a special chance with this Corona Cup, that'd be dope.
The big CC, dude.
The CC, dude. The Mario Kart. We've all been waiting for this.
Dude, yeah, exactly. Like the Mario Kart game where you're in 32nd place out of 32, and
then all of a sudden,
if you get first and your friend somehow gets 32nd, you somehow overtake him for first place, and he gets second. Those are beautiful moments that you need to remember.
Bullet bills back to back to back to back. Yeah.
To back. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, besides that, I don't know any. I mean, soccer EPL is supposed to start end of this month.
And like I think the Spanish league is starting end of June, end of July or something. Yeah. The Italian league, they're like, okay, all the old people have died in Italy. Now we can open stadiums.
Like, dude, right now, I think Italy is the youngest country in the world.
Dude, they went from the second oldest to like youngest
in a matter of months. As sad as that
average age,
we're making fun of this.
Average age 55, current age 32. Like just.
If you want to restart and help Italy overcome this, move to Italy.
Dude, we're gonna buy a house in Italy, and then you're gonna have to come visit on your vacations, dude. I'm telling you, like her and I for sure are getting a house somewhere in Italy within 10, 20 minutes of the beach. Like, for sure. It's going to happen. And we just want to let everyone know, not all you people that aren't watching, but like everyone that I know, that you know, that if you come through, there's always a spot for you. And I can't wait for that moment.
Beautiful, man.
10 years or less, dude. I'm like, I don't know how, but we're just going to retire in our mid-40s and move to Italy.
Dude, we'll grow wine.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
That's all. Just grapes and...
Just buy a little countryside, Google that shit. Thank you, Google. Shout out to Google, none of our sponsors. That's how I learn things. I Google it. For those of you that don't know.
Oh, yeah, it's still recording. Perfect.
Dude, I'm surprised, actually. Normally... like,
yeah, you said 30 minutes. Yeah, this is a lie.
It's been an hour and 20 minutes, dude. It's been pretty long. It's been at least
an hour and 20 minutes?
So, no dude, way. we started FaceTiming on our phones at like 4:15.
Oh shit!
So like we've probably been streaming for like an hour, but we've only been
not bad.
Yeah, dude, that's kind of where we wanted to be. So I'll let you, dude. I'll let you do your thing. It was a good moment. Next week we'll see if we can get our pussets on, and
we'll get a special guest. Stay tuned. One is a pussy, and
the other one is also
has longer hair than you.
But it's also a pussy. They're all.
It's also a pussy.
All right, dude. Well, hey, man. Thanks for going on this journey with me, dude. Have a good rest of your day and stay safe out there.
All right, man. Later. Love you.